think it is. No. I'm going to log on so I can see what's going on. I should probably set it up on the other side over there. Get rid of the string gun. That's a bloody start. Oof. How do I find stuff? How you going, fellas? Let me just prep my stuff here so I'm... Oh, good. What's everyone up to? Well, that was disgustingly hard. Disgustingly hard. I'm going to try that again. Maybe we should go the other way. Oh, fuck. This stuff on fucking forearms, isn't it? Can you guys even see me here? Maybe just a little bit closer to me. Clean, mate. That was tough. That was probably actually too tough. What I'll do is I'm going to try and warm up a little bit with the forearms. And then it's going to be go time for the bench press. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Who's rocked up? I can see somebody. Chris, what's happening, brother? What's going on, man? I'm warming up my forearms before I bench press. Trying something different. Getting my ass kicked here. So that was 1-1. So I did extension and flexion. I don't know what you call this, bar rolls, bar I don't know what you call this. Oh, you got just done benching. Nice. So you're just one step ahead of me, Chris. I'm going to try do the extension now. Dust that comes off this shit. What's wrong with these bands? Sticking up the joints, rubber and dust. Did a half mile. Then had to run, walk. Some fresh air in here. Had a run after a leg day, did half a mile, then had to run, walk, and rest of the mile. I think of cardiovascular health or the muscle tear after everyday run make you not want to do it. A lot of the gym setups get fun will do. No, cardiovascular health is obviously really important. Without a doubt, for sure. But I don't think cardiovascular health needs to involve running. I mean, cardiovascular health doesn't just involve, your traditional cardio. If you're, training every day and you're moving every single day, you're huffing and puffing with the weights, my heart rate is always up. If you think about how many sets I do on the bench press, think about how active I am every single day. I mean, that is very, very good. You don't have to be marathon runners in order for us to have a heart health. There's also a dietary component to all of that as well. But if you want to run, if that's your thing, for sure, that is a great thing to do. Let me fix this up a little. Is this straight? Can everybody get everything perfect? We'll go the other way. Stop picking the weights up on the floor. What's your resting heart rate? Right now, I'm not resting, so I wouldn't know, dude. I don't know. I don't worry about those things. Some of these freak aerobics endurance athletes. My God, my forearms have smoked from that. But yeah, there's many different, if you think, like this whole conversation is about cardiovascular health, right? Which probably people align with longevity and health, right? Cardio you do for health, right? Well, there's lots of research in this, and your VO2 max is only a fraction of the bigger picture. Lean muscle mass is very, very closely related, correlated with longevity. So don't think that you can be a skeleton running marathons and that's going to be the key to longevity. Lean muscle mass, your bone density, all of that has also a very close correlation. And, it is pretty much very well established and supported by the science community that your best predictor of longevity is actually lean muscle mass. Lean muscle mass. I'm not talking about that creatine fueled crap that they call muscle, which is essentially just fluid retention. I'm talking about lean muscle mass. And you don't get that by running. You get some of it, obviously. You get that with resistance training, and there's many forms of that. You don't have to do a squat every day. You can do whatever the hell you want. A lean muscle is very important. So if you combine your VO2 max and lean muscle, that's pretty much 100% of your predictor of health for the most part. So don't forget that. And I know a lot of communities fight each other in this sense, like, oh, what's more important? We shouldn't be killing our own. We shouldn't be saying to the runner, you're crap, look how weak you are, whatever. It's not about that. My only thing is if you are training weights and you're hitting high rep ranges and you're actually quite fit and you can survive a 30 rep squat set or 50 squat set, that's, in my opinion, quite a lot. Now, can I run a marathon? Absolutely. A half marathon? Absolutely not. But don't just think that, I'm doing cardio to keep fit and healthy. That's not the only solution to this. That's the only thing when it comes to all of this. People do it, just understand what's happening, the full picture. Okay, so I've done 2 sets of each. So next would be to do flexion again, extension. 20 is a bit too heavy for me. These are some shit bands. I don't know what's wrong. Why these are the worst bands I've ever had. These road bands are just non-stop shedding this white dust. Very disappointing. Very disappointing. My resting heart rate at work was 100 beats per minute. It's bad. Why is it so much? At work, alright, so it's not, no, that's not your real resting heart rate. In fact, you can't really call that resting heart rate. SSL, what's happening, man? Back at it again. Alright, one more. All this eventually. Alright, that is an excellent freaking exercise for your forearms. Oh. Fellas, let me take you on a ride. Let me actually see what's going on here though. I feel like I need more light here. I don't know how to get it. Hey, give me a sec, fellas. Let's see if I can work something out. I reckon I've got a light source over here. Give me 1 second. Let me just walk over to the shed. I reckon I've got a light over here somewhere. Yeah, can you guys hear me at all? I wonder. While I'm walking away, I'm only 20 minutes late. Or is that all cutting out? Give me 1 minute, guys. Just an interruption. But I do want to see if I can make it a little bit better. Now, hopefully this thing works. I used this when I was painting the house, and the light was really, really bad. Oh, goodness me, look at this. Jesus, it's blinding, I'll tell you that. It's a bit better, I think. You guys get to see me a bit more. Oh man, I'm pulling out all the tricks here. Maybe it's too much now in the light. Oh dearie, what are we doing with our lives? Anyway, what's your opinion on the back squats, on the hack squats, Ivan? ABC, man, I had a pretty good stint with hack squats towards the end of last year, and basically what that ended up doing for me is I ended up hitting a PR. So definitely positive. When I first did it, I could barely do like 1 plate, and by the end of it, I reckon I was doing 4 plates, if I'm not mistaken, for a set of 10. So it was like a completely different feeling for me. So I do recommend them if that's what you need, and that's if, big if. I don't know if that's the answer for you. There's many different tools that we can use, but do you need that particular tool? I don't know. Let me bang out these warm-up sets. I'm still snotty, but I do feel pretty good, so I've decided to bench today. Like properly bench, not mess around. I'll do 5 of these before I move on. Seems like a lot, but I feel like warming the shoulders up is so important. What am I doing with this light? I don't really know. So freaking dark in here. Pure from a bodybuilding perspective, they're seen better than regular squats because I feel quads way more. Day 240, that consistency is diabolical. Greg, what's happening, man? Yeah, I'm back on the bench groove. Yeah, I want to get back to it. I'm not really sure how I'm going to play the winter, but I reckon the bench is going to be the only one that I actually push. Everything else will be accessories. I think the bench is fairly recoverable. So let's see what I can do with it. Hopefully I don't get sick again. And ABC, like as you said there, you feel like hack squats are better for legs. In general sense, when you're talking about bodybuilding, you're talking about isolation work, right? Because, you know, one of the arguments against compound movements is that they're too taxing. Let's say you have 100 units of effort. When you're doing something that is massive, like a squat or deadlift or a bench press, you're spreading those 100 points across multiple different systems, across multiple different muscle groups. And so then no one of those muscles is getting the full 100% effort. And so because of that, bodybuilders like to isolate. And so in the case of legs, yeah, sure, the hack squat turns off a lot of these other muscles which would otherwise be soaking in a lot of, or soaking away a lot of that effort. When you're talking about barbell squats, there is so much going on in barbell squats. People call that a leg exercise, but it's a full body exercise. You know, as I said to you in the past, when I did my probably most impressive set of squats, the 180 for set of 13, my upper back was failing me first. It was absolutely destroying me. I couldn't keep the bar on my back anymore. My legs and whatnot, they were sore, I understand, but that was not the rate limiting step. I literally could not hold the bar on my back anymore, even standing fully upright. So I couldn't even rest at the top. So that tells me a lot more is going on than just quads and glutes in the squat, as some people would think. So if you want purely hypertrophy, it only makes sense to then divvy up some of these muscles away from each other, because if you want to hit 100% effort for the quads, then isolate them and let the quads be the rate limiting step, the thing that fails for you, not the upper back during an exercise that you are doing for your quads. It makes no sense, right? So I understand why people go, you know what, I want bigger quads, I'm not going to do squats. I understand that, especially if you are not built perfectly for the squat. Then it becomes like, what the hell are you doing squats for anyway? So then squats and deadlifts and bench press, all of these other things become a question mark whether they're the best way to go about getting bigger and stronger and whatnot. In my perspective, there are things in your arsenal that are always going to be good for you. Bench press for me, I feel that in my pecs. Some people say I never feel my pecs. I actually feel my pecs, especially in this position that I'm holding the bar, which is wide. So in my opinion, I think bench press is the best thing I can do for my chest. Are squats the best thing for my quads? Probably not. And I look down and I look at my legs, I'm like, absolutely not. When I do my squats, I feel a shit ton of lower back. Absolutely a whole lot of lower back. And then if I really stay away from hard training in my squats and I go back to them after that period of time, my adductors are screaming. I have never had debilitating quad pain from squats. So that tells you, like, well, you know, is it really a quad exercise at all? If you're perfectly built for it, you might have an argument. So these rules don't apply across the board. With the deadlifts, what the hell do the deadlifts do? They take the 100% points of effort and they disperse that shit across hundreds of muscles. So what are you really building when you're doing deadlifts? Of course, lots of lats, lots of lower back, erectors, all that stuff. I understand, hamstrings, glutes. But individually, through an individual exercise, isolation exercise, you could probably hit those muscles better when you isolate them. Now, not every muscle group is isolatable, if that's even a word. And so you kind of need to pick and choose what you want to do. And obviously, there's only 7 days in a week. There's only so much effort you can put into these exercises, the frequency, the volume, and it gets a little bit hairy. So you can't do 200 and whatever freaking muscles all isolated. That's impossible. But if you have something that is lagging and you feel like it's not getting touched by some of these popular big movers, like squats and deadlifts and bench press and overhead press and all that sort of stuff, then you start to think to yourself, okay, how do I get better in that muscle? Can I isolate it a little bit? And I guess that's what you're saying with the hack squats. You feel like the hack squats have done that better for you, and there's no disagreement from me. I'm just saying it depends who you are and what you need. But then, I'll be the first one to say, do you then never do those big movements if you decide? That's where I would disagree with you, because I feel like even as a bodybuilder, I reckon you should be able to move. Like, as in, use all of those muscles that you've isolated over the course of the week. I reckon at some point you should be putting it all together to do something, like a proper movement. You know what I mean? Before I jump into the next one, let me not get cold and move on to this. Oh shit. Forearms are smoked already. If you boys can see me here, move this a little bit this way. that, I reckon. I want to try and do something cheap. I want to try something that I've been thinking about. This might be too heavy. Can you even see me over there? It's probably too heavy. A little bit of forearm work. See how it feels when I go back to bench. Just to keep the elbows happy. Not that I'm happy. I've just been messing around with some ideas. Since I'm in the season of accessory work, I've been thinking about trying all this stuff. So yesterday I did pronation, supination. Gotta keep some sort of experimentation going somewhere. Since bench is way less stress on the body versus all body lifts, I agree that while you're still recovering from sickness, perfect way to focus on right now. I feel for you. Yeah, I think the bench is probably the least taxing for me, so it makes sense to get back to just benching. 180 kg raw squat for 30 reps was absolute batshit insane. Thank you, Greg, man. Most people won't ever begin to realize the pure athleticism as a whole to do a performance like that. Super impressive to me, Ryan. Thank you, Greg. Yeah, that was a really good period of training, man. Like I said to you before, it was just all about that. I did nothing else. No benching, no deadlifting. Towards the middle of it, I started introducing some accessory stuff like really light barbell rows and things to try and combat some of that issue that I had with the upper back. Made me feel better, made me feel stronger. But yeah, everything was for the squat in that period. And you know how it is, like, I don't know if you can relate. The really, really scary stuff, in fact, Greg, you will be able to relate with this, with your style of training. But like, it was such a terrible time for me, but it still draws me back, it still calls me. I'm still attracted to that style of training, even though it was very uncomfortable and very, very tough. There's something about the difficulty of that work, the difficulty of that whole training style. That difficulty attracts me back. It makes me want to do better. Makes me want to come back to it, even though it was a terrible time. It's one of those cases where it's like, it's so tough to do, but then once you've done it, it feels amazing. So the high risk, high reward type of scenario, you feel scared before the set, but then after you feel like an absolute freaking king, like you've conquered the world when you've done that set. That set is the world. And also knowing that once you finish that set, subconsciously, you know that you pack up and you go home. There's nothing else after that. That was also amazing as well for me. Just knowing that, okay, today's gonna be tough, but all I'm doing is one set. And you can kind of sell yourself on some of those ideas, at least I was able to. So I quite enjoyed that aspect of it. Even though it was tough, I knew that after this, we relax. Now I want to do some more forearm stuff, but I don't want to maybe I'll do this. I don't know if I've guys ever show you this. This is something that I created bloody 15 years ago, man. It's basically a piece of dowel connected to a little plate, and I'll do this with it. I'm sure you guys have seen it. I made this a long time ago. You guys can't see me there, can you? If I stand back, way back like this. Alright, so flexes. And you just roll like this. Roll it up, and then you kind of go down sort of bit. And you kind of bend your forearms. And you go the other way. That was a lot. Really taxing out my forearm before I even start bench press. Hi, low. Bobby, what's going on, man? The bear says, Ivan, knowing what you know about squatting, well, what would you do for legs if you were to train 17-year-old Ivan for basketball? Oh, what would I do? The thing about being athletic, so if I was going back to train myself at 17 while playing basketball, and that was me, you know, the thing about athleticism, athletics in general, is that you're trying to, especially at my size and me being a point guard and me prioritizing speed and agility and acceleration, all of that is important in the game of basketball. If I was 6'10", 6'11", 7 feet tall, sure, I could probably start to think about strength and whatever, like, because that's the part of the game where strength is very useful when you're kind of banging inside under the ring, fighting for a rebound and whatnot. But as a point guard, as a shooting guard at my level, there's no point adding 20 kilos of muscle as a point guard. That's just counterproductive. My position requires me to be quick. So then, does that mean you do weights? Absolutely. But like, you're trying to build a race car in that position, right? So you don't want the big, bulky, you know, type of frame. You want something that is relatively slim and fast. So my recommendation for myself would be to spend a lot of time doing unilateral leg work. I think unilateral leg work for athletics, for athleticism, is the foundation of all training. That is where you spend most of your time. So lunges, Bulgarian split squats, walking lunges, split squats, or various different front foot or rear foot elevated. All of that stuff is fantastic. I would even do like plyometric split squat exercises. That is absolutely amazing. Would I squat? Absolutely. Would I squat for this serious, like throw all of my eggs into the squatting basket? No way. I would also try to add strength in the deadlift, hip extension, knee extension, and just also like do hip extension with one leg, right? I've got a son that's 9 years old. I think about this quite often as he goes through his sporting career. I'm going to be guiding him along his journey, and so this has been on my mind. And you know, if you look at some of the other NBA stories, John Morant, Zach LaVine, some of the most athletic people to walk the earth, definitely play NBA. And when you hear about what they've done, they didn't do a lot of squatting or deadlifting. They did a lot of plyometric work, you know, a lot of jumping on and off of things. So like jumping on the bench, coming off. John Morant did a lot of tire, jump into a tire, jump out of a tire. A lot of unilateral work using one leg. That's kind of what you have to think about when you think about athletics. It's not just about muscle, it's far from it. It's about the tendons. And tendons is now a big conversation in the NBA because of the recent injuries. Lots of hypotheses there. about why these things are happening. But you essentially, you know, in bodybuilding, everyone talks about muscle, right? And they think that that's all there is. No, man. The human body is made of many different sorts of different tissues. Bone is one of them. Ligaments, tendons, muscles, nerves. There's a lot of stuff that goes on. And in a sport like basketball, where there's a lot of skill and speed and agility involved, you can't just work on strength and expect to be a very good basketball player. So that's why you don't see a lot of big deadlifters or squatters in the NBA. And you know, somebody will say, "Oh, but you know, I'm sure if LeBron started squatting a lot, he would get better." Well, he's got a 40+ inch vertical leap. Jordan also has got a 40+ inch, and I've never seen those guys squat or deadlift. So you need to just understand, once again, always go back to what is the goal? What is the goal of your training? What are you trying to achieve? What is your final boss? I am a much worse basketball player right now than I was back then. Number one, I'm 104 kilos. That is unplayable at the level that I used to play. You're too heavy. You can't play at 104 kilos at 6 foot, 6'1". Too heavy, too slow. Your knees and ankles would burn out, bust out, get destroyed. So weight becomes a big priority in athletics. So you know, if my idea, you know, for me to go back to 17, I try to aim for like 85, tops 90 kilos. Even 90 kilos would be too heavy, and just try and get very strong for that frame, and very powerful and you know, explosive. Lots of unilateral work, lots of plyometrics. Sure, squats and deadlifts, you know, in the program, but singles at sub-maximal weight, like 70%. I would even probably incorporate bands and chains and try and do accommodating resistance. All of that stuff that just, you know, revolves around rate of strength. You know, how quickly can you produce strength? So you know, Louis Simmons used to call this a speed strength. You know, there's strength speed and then there's speed strength. I think he would say this is speed strength. How fast can you move a particular body part or system? That's kind of where I would go for the sake of sports. You know, would you bench press? Probably not at all. Would I do shoulder presses and things like that? Like, it's just not needed. Other than, you know, doing your rehab stuff just to make sure the joint's strong in integrity, I would mostly spend like on knee and hip. That's kind of, and core, you know, and back, like just extension, right? And obviously, you know, athleticism, there's a lot of technique. So you practice a lot of jumps, board taps, 1-2 jumps, penultimate steps, and all that stuff. There's a lot that goes into it, man. It's not just, you know, Ivan having a 200 kilo deadlift means he's going to jump high. Not necessarily. Not necessarily. There's a lot that goes into it. Now, can I get 23 reps with this? Part of me is really nervous for this. I think I did condition a fair bit. I'm so happy with that. Oh, Lord. I am very happy with that. Oh. That is awesome. I had doubts about that. after sickness first set. Snap react. If tomorrow you injured your knee, how would you rehab it? If tomorrow I injured my knee, how would I rehab it? Obviously the rate of damage, the amount of damage rather, and what type of injury would call for different things. But my mind will instantly go to what caused the injury? What type of injury did I have? A lot of the injuries that I see in basketball, in soccer, in football, whatever you want to call it, there's a lot of athletes that have an imbalance in the knee. The knee is a hinged joint with muscles from the top and bottom kind of inserting across it and through it and whatever. Most people, even the people that can't squat properly, are quad dominant. Most people. The hamstrings balance the knee. The hamstrings balance the knee and prevent the knee from going into that shearing phenomenon which tears ACLs. That shearing force is stabilized by the hamstring. So when you plant your foot and you're running, what prevents that knee, that femur from sliding across the tibia plateau is the hamstring, kind of pulls it back. So hamstrings will be absolutely the key. And then what also feeds into that? What helps the hamstrings? The glutes. What else helps the glutes? The adductors. Those three guys kind of stabilize the hip. And through that stabilization of the hip, orientation of the hip from the pelvic balance, anterior, posterior, all of that somehow helps the hamstrings to support the knee. The adductors also kind of insert in a weird way, impact the knee joint as well. That's where I would kind of start. I would definitely focus a lot on those posterior chain muscles. The quad is probably overdone, overcooked. In football, in soccer, in Aussie rules, there's a lot of kicking. The quads are always kind of working. And so that's kind of where I would go towards. But yeah, it would depend. It would depend on lots of different things, obviously. Now, one set of bench is what I'm going to do. Now, what I'm going to do instead is go incline. Well, this is disconnecting. Let me go incline here. Let me shut the light off. You guys see me in that position? Where am I going, man? Where you going? Where you going with this? Rick says, yeah, that 180 for 13 was exactly Mike Mentz's style of training, where the single set will stimulate the maximum growth for the next few days, and intensity of that single set is good enough for two not. Yeah, that's exactly Mike Mentz's style. Absolutely, and that's kind of where the inspiration came from to do that style of training. So I did that twice a week. The way I had it is I had day 1, 2, and 3. And I would just rinse and repeat. And so day 1, I would hit 140 for 5. Day 2, I would hit 160 for 5. So ramp up. And then day 3, I would go 180 for AMRAP. And then the very next day, go back to day 140 for 5. And then 140 for 5 would kind of feel easy as anything. And so that's kind of how I did it. And day 1 and 2, mostly on day 1, I would do some sort of exercise to help day 3. So like either rows, I think rows was the most starting, and a lot of like hip abduction work to keep everything kind of balanced. That's how I did it. No benching, no deadlifting, no anything other than that. Like I literally put all of my recovery points into that one basket to kind of get that whole recovered for. Alrighty. Why is this like this? I feel like I need to drop this chair. I still feel like I need to drop that chair. Feels good, man. Just drop the mic a little lower. That felt good. I'll get rid of this for now. Alright, I reckon I'll put 60s on now. Train at all for the next several days. That style is absolute quality of sets over quantity, but each set is so damn stressful and anxiety, including inducing to mentally and physically step into it. Absolutely. And we've talked about that before, Greg, as well, man. Like it is a mental turmoil really leading up to it. I also watched a video on what to say to people who say that lifting is dumb, which can literally be said about any particular task or hobby if asking the right individual. Absolutely. No matter who you are, what you are, you're going to have groups that you agree with and groups that you don't agree with, and each their own, I suppose. I just feel like everyone should have this common denominator of health, right? Like, shit, man, we can't do anything without health. You know, I'm not asking you to play golf over tennis. This is health. Like, you need that for everything. Makes no sense to me. Calcium sulfate says, Greg, most hobbies are dumb and one shouldn't spend too much time or energy on it. They are our hedonistic vices. We all should exercise a little bit though. That's what I think. It's health we're talking about. Samurai Yan says, Ivan brothers, what's the key to total body explosiveness or hip hinge explosiveness? Ooh. Yeah, that's a brainstorm question, I think, for everyone. Now, this barbell here that I have is a Vita bar. It's a thick one. I'm living on the crazy side of the world. I put 2 plates on one side and none on the other. Just get the kids out here. There's no risk for it. Maybe I'll do a few more sets with this. See what I can do. The next time I'll keep the flat bench better. Brendan says, Brendan, what's going on, man? Hey, man, hope you're well. I like the new machines in your gym. Great additions. Thank you, man. Yeah, I'm happy with them as well. This one particularly, I don't know if you can see this one. The abduction. Awesome. I'll do this before every squat that I do. And then I finish off with this adductor. Love these machines. And this is also good as well. You get a lot of work out of this as well. Incline is just so comfortable. The shoulders are just chilling out when you do it. Dude. Yeah, training's good, man. I'm finally getting in the swing of things again. I was sick for about a week. Terrible time I had there. But I'm back to some sort of strength. I'm still far off. I'm not eating when I don't train, and so I've lost a bit of weight, a bit of energy, lethargic, but you make the best of it, man. I guess you can treat it like a deload, I suppose. So now in the next few weeks I'm going to try and ramp up bench again, try and hit some impressive volumes with it. And then hopefully I can get 100 kilos for 30 reps. And when I do that, I'll increase that weight obviously to 120, big jump, reset down to 20, if not even less than that, and try and build up again. And in that process, I'll try and hit 160 for one. My max is 155. Let's see if I can do it. Eventually, I'll be able to do it. That's my belief always. Ivan, what does Mr. Squat Every Day think about you squatting every day for 5 years? She's really supportive, man. She really is. It's never been an issue. I think I told you the story before, how we met. Even when she met me, I was training like crazy. That's who she met. It wasn't squatting, it wasn't lifting weights, but I was always training something, man, always doing something. So she's kind of used to it. I didn't spring this out of nowhere. I was crazy about basketball, training all the time for that. And I've kind of evolved that into this. So this is who I am, and so there's no surprises for her. In terms of the 5 years of squatting every day, you know, we had some times where it was tough, you know, kids and all that, but you know, I never had trouble, you know, at least from her. You know, some days when I don't really have time and I've got 12-hour shifts, I'll just literally come in here for 10 minutes, sprint up the weight, hit 180, 190, 200, 160, it doesn't really matter what it is, and then get on with the day. You know, I always found value in coming in for 10 minutes. A lot of people are like, there's no point in that. In my mind, there is plenty of point in that. Like, no point in the journey that I ever think, oh, I can't wait to get whatever this is now, you know, 2100 days. I didn't give a fuck. I wasn't impressed with 30 days, 40, 50, 100 days. It's just, I don't think about that. I just think about tomorrow. And what I can do tomorrow. You know, am I working tomorrow? Am I not? What are the kids doing? What are the other family obligations? And I just kind of fit it in there. Simple as that. Nothing crazy. Now, I'm so flat. I can feel my muscles already tremoring and giving up. That's all that dehydration, glycogen stores have gone into the boots. There's nothing left. Good. this feels kind of weird when you've done multiple years of flat bench. Incline feels like I want to push this way, but you have to push this way. It's kind of weird. And was also curious in your thought process of what you did in your training before squat every day, day number 1. Oh, Greg, the story behind that is I didn't train at all. 3 months, 4 months. Something like 6 months before squat every day 1, I was training at a gym. So the story was, yeah, I don't know how far to take you back. Basically, I didn't train at all for about a month or 2, like zero training, leading up to squat every day 1. We just moved into this house. My home gym, barbells, plates, rack, everything was disassembled. And we put it under this veranda that wasn't big enough to actually set up for a gym. And we cleared this other old shed that was tiny. And we were in the process of putting up a new shed. And so that took a while. You know, the building of the shed, the concrete slab, electrical work, all that stuff took a while. So the whole process took a few months. And during the last 6 weeks, like it was winter, and I was getting sick. I had young ones, obviously. And I had ear infections. I remember recurrent ear infections. And so I wasn't training at all for about 6 weeks. Before those 6 weeks, for about 6 months, I was going to a gym. Actually, this gym, the gym that I bought this stuff, the Lodge Fitness. That place was near the house we were living at. So going to this place, about 6 months, something like that. And I was training like twice, 3 times a week, something like that. You know, every time I'd rock up, I'll do squats, set of 10 with 100 kilos or something like that. It wasn't anything crazy. I'll try to do dips and pull-ups and just general bodybuilding type stuff. A few years before that, I lived in another house. Same rack, same weight, same everything. And I trained all sorts of stuff back then. You can go back in my videos and see some of those videos where I was doing like, you know, 60 kilo deadlift for AMRAPs and all that kind of stuff. Just exploring and trying everything and anything. If you go back even beyond that, like another 4 or 5 years before that, starting strength, 5x5, mad cow, 5-3-1, that kind of stuff. I started where everyone starts. And so on squat every day, day 1, I hit 160 day 1 after not squatting or doing any training for about 6 weeks. So that's kind of the backdrop. So day 1 is 160, however, probably a year before that or something like that, I hit 190, or 2 years before that, I hit 190. So 160 was not my max on squat every day, day 1, it was 190. That's kind of the background of it all. And the reason why the squat every day started was basically I was like, I'm so keen to train. I've got this new shed, new concrete, new facility. I was just so excited. And you know, squat every day, day 1 wasn't labeled squat every day, day 1. I just uploaded like new shed or something. I can't remember what I did. And on day 2, I was like, man, I want to squat again. And I was like, you know, I want to squat every day for this whole week. So then I renamed day 1 squat every day, day 1. Day 2 was squat every day 2. And that's kind of how we started. I was like, I'm going to just get a week because I just want to train. I'm so happy. And that's how it all started. And then I was like, you know what, let me just do this for a while. And then I lost track of time. I just kept training. I was so happy with that place, man. And then we bought this house. We bought it at an auction. And we moved. And I just kept going on with it. And something like 390 days went by in the other address. So squat every day, day 395 was the first day here. That's kind of the backdrop. It was lots of moving around in my life, I think. I don't know how many houses, probably 4 different houses in 5 years. 1, 2, 3, yeah, this is the 4th house in that period, like 4 years, 5 years. Lots moving around. Alright, enough of that. Obviously a lot more reserve in all of that, but that's go easy, man. Crazy here. Use the volume to collaborate. I like to keep somewhat a tidy gym. I don't like everything everywhere. That shit don't move. Nice. That ain't nice. Well, you get a sip of that takes you everything. Oh great, something must have happened to the line, huh? I don't know, dude. Technology, dropouts, internet. Oh man. The only thing with this freaking machine, I feel like I'm squeezing my nuts every time. Yeah, you know, when I first got the machine, it was squeaking, so I threw WD-40 into a bunch of stuff, and I still haven't found the bloody squeak. It must be that pulley there. I don't think it's this one, so we need to go good. I think it's the pulley. I don't really know what's going on. Yeah. It's like a, yeah, it's like a 6-7 second delay between the live feed, I'm looking at it right now, and the, it's interesting. I don't know if you saw my message, Ivan, just saying how I admire your discipline, especially for squatting and all things, the king of all lifts. Thank you, Greg. Yeah, you know, whatever gets you going, you know, everyone's got a different path. Like for me, squatting is it's the most difficult, and I get attracted to the most difficult. That's how I work, like that's how I approach things. I just go to myself, okay, let me sell you on something, and then everything else will follow. And legit, that's how it was. My idea of squat every day was I was just gonna squat. That is it. I wasn't interested in anything else. And then throughout the 5 years of this journey, I've realized that, oh my God, fucking, you need this, you need that. All the way up to the point where I fully realized that my upper back is also a limiting factor to the squat. And so through the pursuit of squatting better and better weights, I kind of ended up doing a whole body anyway. So it's all kind of connected. And so I probably wouldn't have been so attracted to something like, oh, you gotta train every single freaking muscle in the body to get good at squats. That would have been cool enough for me. I've always kind of been attracted to the whole specialized individual, like David Beckham, you know, he can just do free kicks, you know, that kind of thing. But, you know, in the pursuit of mastery of something, you open multiple different doors that declare their own message, and then you end up doing the same thing that the bloody powerlifter from day one wanted to be an all-rounder. It's just funny how all that works, you know. You end up doing exactly like them. Three. Hey, serious question. I'm thinking of doing the same journey as you, squatting every day though. My favorite exercises are front squats and OHP. What do you think, Ivan? Optimal or not? Oh, dude, the whole word of optimal or not optimal, that to me has very little weight at all. I don't really care about optimal or most efficient or science-based or whatever the hell. I'm pretty sure when Mike Tyson was training, people thought, well, that's not optimal. To do 2,000 push-ups and freaking 1,000 squats and all the shit that he used to do every single day, that wasn't optimal. And I'm pretty sure he would have told you the same thing. I don't give a shit what you think is optimal or not. Go on your own journey. Don't let anybody tell you optimal or not optimal. You just do you. In your journey, you will find multiple different answers that will shed some light on some of these questions that you have. If you have a burning desire to do something, you bloody do it. Well, this idea of somebody telling you, oh, it's not optimal, screw that shit. I'm pretty sure that Nikola Tesla, when he was working on some of these things, people would say, well, that's not optimal to be in your books 23 hours a day. That's just freaking, you're a weirdo, dude. That's not optimal to live your life like that. What the hell are you doing? I'm sure freaking Einstein was also not optimal. Optimal for fucking what, man? Like, what the fuck is optimal? For who? For what? For when? What is optimal? Optimal is another word for normal. And I don't know about you, bro, but I do not want to be normal. I don't want to be in that bell curve, in the standard deviation, you know, in that first freaking bump in the bell curve. I ain't interested in that. I don't want to be the normal bloke, like as in cookie cutter, fucking 9 to 5, come back, you know, have 3 beers and have some pasta and then go to sleep and go from there again. Doing that, and so I've basically done my best in my life to not be normal. There needs to be something unique about me. There needs to be something that I'm proud of and be like, okay, I did it my way. Obviously, many things in your life are not going to go your way. You can't drive 400 k's an hour down the road. That's going to get you into a lot of shit, right? But in training, in my own fucking garage, my own weights, who the fuck is going to tell me, Ivan, you shouldn't do the barbell rows like that? Go fuck yourself. This is my own personal journey. I don't want anyone else to tell me anything about anything. I've read some texts. I've read some Eastern and some Western texts. I've listened to hundreds of people give me their opinion. I'm going to do this because that's what I feel like. And so there's not a lot of areas in my life that I can legitimately express myself, my free will, on what I bloody want to do in this life. Many things are already pre-locked in and prefabricated for me. You got to go 12 years of education and then go to uni, get a job. You know, in the job you got to follow the book, follow the protocols. When something goes wrong, these are the other protocols. You know, when you do this, fuck all that. You know, I'm not interested in any of that. I feel like I'm smart enough to read between the lines and to understand what society is built upon. Religion, politics, all of that stuff. A lot of it has been prefabricated to keep us in a nice little herd, and to make sure that, you know, there's not a revolution and a revolt against the people in power. And to those people, I say middle finger to you. Like I'm a little bit more smarter than most of that. As you can tell by my tone and my voice, that's a pre-loaded gun when it comes to me. You know, my upbringing, the civil war, the refugee, not trusting my own government from basically the moment I was born. We fled, you know, when I was 2 years old. The war started. When I was 9, we came to Australia, and it was all bullshit. It was all murky. And so history, politics, religion, everyone in every single opportunity of this world has tried to somehow weave some bullshit around some other bullshit to get control, to get power, to get money. And so you're telling me some bloke out of Texas, Wichita, whatever, I think it's in Texas, I'm talking about, not Mark Bell, Mark Rippertel. You're telling me that he's found the Bible of lifting in the world, and only his protocol is going to get you strong and buff and strong. Are you fucking kidding me, man? Out of all the areas that we can talk about, sports science is probably the weakest fucking science that goes around. If you're talking about physics, and you're talking about Einstein and Tesla and whatever, it's hard mathematics. I will listen like a little good boy, and I will trust what you have to say, because these are some proven things. There is a formula that's been tested by hundreds of people and they always get the same result. That is a very, very proven thing. Other than that, man, all this other shit is just wishy-washy. There's 1,000 different ways to get to the gold medal at the Olympics. Who is going to believe who when they say, I found it? You found fucking what? You found something that has worked for that individual. I'm not that individual. I don't have the same proportions, the same history, the same genetic makeup. Cool story, bro. There's many others. And so if you want to squat every day, just fucking do it, dude. You don't need anybody's approval. You're a fully grown man. I don't even know who you are. You might be a 16-year-old kid from all I know. But even if you are, you have your full autonomy, your full freedom. You do whatever the fuck you want to do. If you want to do bicep curls every day, I can do it, dude. Be the first guy to prove to the world that doing biceps every day will lead to 24-inch arms. Who gives a shit? I just can't believe that the vast majority of the planet are such sheep. That to me is astonishing. And we found a very good example recently, 5 years ago, with the whole mess that the world went through, with all the crap that we had to, inject. Everyone lined up for good little boys. In fact, our government here were handing out lollipops as a reward. And people were like, fuck yeah, I want a lollipop, give me that shit. No questions are asked. They just trusted these multinational pharmaceutical organizations to have your best interests at heart. And yet the same people that did that bombed the living shit out of the whole of the Middle East, started cold wars, burned Vietnam to bits, Korea, Somalia. You're trusting those same people. Don't even get me into the conspiracies. I know more where that comes from. But you're telling me the same people that are governing those periods of time, you're going to trust them with utmost? And then we trickle all the way down to this insignificant shit that we're doing, strengthening my little freaking glute medius and minimus, that I reckon that study over there that has $5 to its name, they've come up with some answer to have to trust. My friend, all of that shit can get shoved up someone else's ass. I'm very, very hard to trust. After my upbringing and what I've gone through in my family, my friend, I don't trust too many people. If it comes from the TV, 99% of the time I'm like, well, that's bullshit. What is the true answer behind all that crap that they're spewing? That comes with 36 years of a very specific life, right? Like, you need to understand, like, I come from a part of the world where the perspective of the West is much different to when you live in the West and you get fed what the West tells you. History is written by the winners, and the winners will call themselves hero, but the losers will call themselves the arch enemy, the demons. So it depends on which side of history you come from, you're going to have different perspectives. And so I say all of this to say that you shouldn't be all that very trustworthy about what other people say. This optimal shit and what's science-based and all this crap in this field is weak as shit. It means nothing to anyone. At least it means nothing to me. It is very weak stuff. I encourage you to follow your gut, follow your intuition, follow what you've read. Turn this guy on. Very useful thing to turn this on. Don't be trustworthy. I don't give a fuck if Harvard or Yale came up with this study. Those people can also be bought, like many other things in life. Fuck man, they buy walls. You're telling me a little professor in a little lab coat can't be told what to write about. Dude, this is the only time I feel like us normal blokes can just express our uniqueness and our expression and free will. A lot of the other stuff, the cogs are too powerful and we have to follow what we need to follow, but holy shit, dude. Don't ask for another bloke what's optimal or not. You just follow your journey, man. That is a long-ass winded opinion, but you kind of struck a nerve when it comes to all this, because optimal science-based lifters and all this shit is just cringe as shit to me, dude. It is so cringe that I cannot believe that is the most clicked thing in this field. When somebody says, oh, some guy from Yale, by the way, never touched a fucking Bible in his life, wrote some bloody article that said something about something. Really? Really? Shit. Well, he's got credentials, he's got Harvard, he's written some papers. My ass. I would never thought of it that way. Now that you've mentioned it, roger that, man. Rand, this is such a gold mine of for lifting tips. What a mentor, what a freaking mentor. Thank you, Rand. Appreciate that, dude. It's 60 bits. Rest in peace, Lenny. This is my own personal journey. Roger, fucking that, sir. My man, love it. Ripito, that's it. Hi man, I'm from Russia and I watched you probably 3-4 years ago. You cool. I have my little gym in my apartment too, so I just write to support and take my respect for you. Hey, how do I say that? Avdenkov. I reckon I've read your name correctly. Cyrillic, Russian, Cyrillic, and Serbian is not too far away. Sergey Avdenkov. Sergey Avdenkov, appreciate it, man. Thank you for the support. Greg says Louis Simmons was something similar, but they all squat a mile high and triple bench bench press, but claim to be the best methods to train. But it taken to full range of motion would crumble. Yeah, yeah. You ready for the rugby? Oh, Soulboy 60, I know nothing about the rugby. I'm sorry, my man. That is one area that I have zero knowledge in. Sometimes I go on these rants, boys. I apologize if it's hard to listen to, but sometimes we get triggered, as we all do, don't we? We all have a thing. What do I do now? From 18 to 32. Let's do a bit of a jump. 5 sets of that. Moving on. Sergey, I'm Serbian, and Serbians have also Cyrillic, which is that alphabet that you use in Russia as well. There's some letters that are different, obviously, but I can read that. It takes me a little while. I'm not as fluent as I used to be in that alphabet, but I can read that. You know, and it took me a little while, as you saw. Sergey Avdenkov. Yeah, so Russia and Serbia are very much linked in history, and so we share a lot. I'm sure you know about Serbia if you're from Russia. Hello from Romania. Hello. The thing with Louis Simmons' style of training is most average Joes, if given a gym belt, I believe could at least quarter squat 220, 260. Yeah, quarter squatting is something that is hard to freaking stomach, man. You know, this is the thing, like ever since I got into this field, and this is kind of what my concern is, you know, talking about role models and whatnot, you know, if you are such an appalling representation of a sport, and you degrade the sport to such stupid levels where blokes are benching 1,000 pounds because of all this gear, that is disgusting to watch, man. Like, you are literally hurting your own sport. Clean it up a little bit. Have some standardization, have some freaking standards that we can all follow. So when you see a guy bench, you're like, holy shit, he's got nothing on his wrists, nothing on his elbows, no shirt, and he's doing 180 kilo bench press. You feel that. Because when an average Joe goes to the gym, they don't have that gear. And so they're like, holy shit, I can barely hit 60 kilos. I can only imagine what 180 is. What I can't imagine is how do, you know, they're wearing that shirt, they come out of the freaking, you know, come onto the platform, they can't even sit down on the bench, their arms are like stuck together like this. And then some other guy, there's a whole team that pries that arm open, they put their arms and then they do this. It's like, fuck, it is disgusting. Can we just stop with that shit? It is disgusting to watch. I don't know who wants to watch that crap. George, thank you, my man. Speaking of quarter squatting, I've seen a lot of athletes doing tons of quarter squats implemented into their trainings. I've not understood the method. Oh, Ram. There's a 70 kilo lifter in America by the name of Campion who uses 3 weights. Yeah, I know that dude, Greg. I know that dude. Now, speaking of which, if you are doing quarter squats and you're not just a numbskull training your ego, if you're actually using quarter squats and you're a basketball player or a volleyball player, they have a place. But there needs to be a specific thing to do quarter squats. And I think a lot of people that are quarter squatting, they have no idea what they're doing. So typically when you see a professional or somebody that understands training, they will do the quarter squats inside a squat rack with very, very high safeties. And they'll do like 4 or 5 inches of movement and they're trying to accelerate the bar, trying to mimic explosiveness. That is a different thing to somebody squatting for ego, you know, and I feel like we can all see the difference. One is perfect form, flat back, intention, effort, perfect. The other one is buckling under the weight, moving very slowly, doing God knows what. 32, okay. exercise that always feel fucking amazing. Danish. I think a lot of the blokes that lift, general guys, will agree with us and disagree with those geared powerlifters that are just revolting. Like, and some of them, once they take off the gear, they look like they don't even lift. It's like, cool, man. Why don't you just, ride in on a freaking forklift and get the fucking forklift to do the bench press for you? What is the difference? You tell me what the difference is between a forklift and a bench lift. I don't understand what the difference is. Patrick. Yeah, I know, Patrick. Sometimes I get on a rant and my freaking mind just takes over. I get triggered. But great, yeah. Very, very good uses of the quarter squat. I've seen guys with like 40, 45-inch vertical leaps using it to train. There's something to be said about it. However, and a big however, the shearing forces involved in quarter squats and using super maximum weights is through the roof, especially at the point where you are reversing from an eccentric to concentric portion of the lift. Very brutal for the knees, which is why I always say, you can do that, but you need to incorporate full depth squats in your program. You can't just replace normal squats with quarter squats. I think that is a path for tendinopathies of all sorts, knee troubles and all sorts. As an accessory on top, I for sure agree. Yep. Frank Anthony said, hey, I just squatted 180 for 5 and I'm going to surpass you soon. Meanwhile, he's fully geared and does less than quarter squats. Ball my since I sacrificed everything. Oh Lord. Yeah, dude. That's what I go back to, the standards. You meet somebody and they're like, yeah, man, I'll squat at 220. Yeah, cool, man. And automatically in your mind, you think, okay, they're using the same idea as me. And then you see the video and you're like, what the fuck is that? Each to their own, man. Whatever. Just keep your mind in your own lane and that's it. Each their own. All right, appreciate it, man. I'll do one more of these and we'll do the squats. One 100 reps. Oh, that makes me so happy to think about. Yeah. Yeah. I wonder how many of these people that are doing that, using weights that are way too heavy for them in proper ranges of motion, how many of them are going to have a long career of lifting? If we know anything about the world and the universe, is that you can't really cheat and get away with things, you know what I mean? Like, eventually something will catch up with something, and it's very hard for us to compute all that. But if you're screwing around with weights that are way too heavy for you to, you know, take that weight to a full range of motion, probably at some point, somewhere, you are really risking some sort of severe injury, whether your back is going to pop or your knees going to pop. Something's going to pop because clearly you're not strong enough to handle that yourself. And so they're kind of doing themselves a disservice, really, if you think about it. And something that I've learned, and I always say to everyone, I've said it on these streams many times before, is that I feel like reps are much more important than weight. And most of the time when you see people that are using poor ranges of motion, they don't actually have a lot of size on them. They don't have strength, proper strength. But yeah, the ego, dude, the ego is a very, very detrimental thing. You know, all you can do is offer advice. If they can't take it, the ego will eventually break them down. The ego will really, really cost them lots. And I think most people end up learning that lesson. Some people take longer than others. You know, some people get to 40 years old and they're still children. They still haven't matured past a certain level. You can't really teach people that, man. You know, me and my brother is 4.5 years older than me. He's never appeared on this channel. Me and my brother, we're blood brothers, right? But we've got different ways of living and thought. But I really appreciate his perspective in life, and a lot of the stuff comes from him. The idea that look at problems from different angles, don't trust everyone, look at the world. He's a big historian, and he understands the world in a very, very interesting perspective. And a lot of this stuff that I mentioned even before, he was my resource when I was growing up. He was 4.5 years older than me, and so he was a lot more talkative, let's say, than my parents were when I was growing up, and I had all these questions about why did we move countries, why did the war happen, and all that. It's obviously a very sore spot for my family. But my brother, being relatively close to my age, he would fill me in. And because he was even older during the war, he took in more of the war. So he had answers earlier than me, because he was like more conscious, more alive mentally than me during the war. And so he went digging. Yeah, he went digging all around the internet and magazines, and he went to all sorts of corners of history and information to kind of make sense of the world. And yeah, and he showed me some of these resources that he found. He showed me some ideas, some documentaries, and he really opened my eyes to what really is happening in the world. That what they tell you on TV and popular publications is no different to what, other, without saying key words, other points of history, how evil governments use media as propaganda to fuel their direction and their ideas. And so it's a very, very powerful tool, and you just need to make sure you have a filter for that crap, so you don't fall victim to the same toxins that they shoot out. And so that idea also comes with me into this space. So when somebody says to me, oh dude, I did 5x5 and I look like this, now I know that there's probably more to it than what they're saying. Oh look, isn't that interesting? Down below he has a link for a program, he has a link for a supplement, he has a link for this and this, and so his whole channel is not here to help you, it's to sell what's down underneath below. And so, it's self-interest cloaked in this facade of, oh, hey guys, I'm just here to help you. But really that's not, they're not being honest at all. They're just pushing money, capitalism. It's just, they will fucking cut your head off for $1. They'll set their own mother for $1. These are the people that me and my brother are labeled as soulless. They have not realized and worked out their soul. The spiritual side of them is not alive, and so they treat other humans on this planet like pieces of meat for harvesting. I'm here to harvest these souls, these bodies for money, without realizing the other portion of existence, the soul. It's watching and it's measuring your every action. And so even though you want to screw around and cause people agony and put them in a struggle and scam them out of some money, and they think they're getting away with it. You don't get away with shit, because your soul is watching. If you're religious or not, God is watching, whatever you want to call this entity. And eventually they all end up being sad and miserable because they got to their Ferraris and the riches and the houses. Deep down in their soul, they know they screwed you over out of that dollar. So they're not helping you. And that eventually eats away at the soul. And then they end up being depressed, and they get on alcohol, and then they start committing suicide. Some of these Hollywood superstars, they commit suicide. And you're like, what the hell, man? You've got everything. Oh, how did you get there? Oh, something really made you unhappy. And so a lot of these things are not what it seems. And like I said to you before, like my upbringing, and I have debates with a lot of people from my work. Obviously, they're like, Ivan, you're on some crazy talk right now. And it's very hard for me to sit down and explain to somebody what it's like to grow up in a war where, you grow up and you're like, the government has my best interest. These are my people. They would never stab me in the back. They would not do this. And so it's very different for me in my upbringing, where you question everything that you get exposed to. You question everything. You don't trust anybody. Because back home, if you told a government official what you're up to, they'll have you in jail for conspiring against the state. All that kind of crazy shit, man. And so experience is everything. If somebody grows up in the West and everything's nice and dandy and there's no war, there's no anything crazy, what reason do they have? What reason do they have to think that the government is cheating them? Everything's perfect. Nothing's going wrong. But when you live on the other side of the world and you have the experiences that I had, you start to really question things. And then you get even older and you realize, oh my God, even the medical world is full of deceit, and capitalism infiltrates everything, and the dollar infiltrates everything. Oh my God, they've started wars over money and oil and resources. Holy shit, that's literally been most of the human history. We've literally spilled blood over resources. So what makes you think that your little thing is gonna be any more important? You are a cog in this economy. We need to turn that cog into profit. So I'm gonna do my absolute best to sell you this shit so we can get money from you. That is literally most YouTube channels, especially in this field, which is disgusting. But that's the world we're living, man. As somebody said, the devil rules the world. I think that was one of the quotes that I... Being kind to somebody is not going to lead to monetary gain most of the time. I have these discussions with my best friend who's very clever with money, understands money than me more than anything. In my mind, when somebody says business, it literally, the way it computes in my mind is that business is the act of you getting more and somebody in the world in some way is getting less. Even though the resources are not fixed and the currency is never fixed and it's always evolving and inflation, all this stuff. And every win that you get, somebody somewhere is getting screwed over. Like, that's literally how I think about this thing. And you're probably right. You're going to say, that's not how it works, Ivan. One thing that I know for sure is that we all cannot be winners. Everybody in the world can't win. It's impossible. There are winners and losers. And so if you are winning in the business space, somebody somewhere is losing. And obviously I'm not an economist and I'm not somebody that understands. I don't have a PhD in this shit, but that's how I process it. Like if I sell my Evo right now for $1 million, right? And the thing is only worth 30, 40 grand. But I've somehow hoaxed that dude into spending $1 million. That is business for me, but he's getting screwed over because he's bought something that ain't that valuable, right? What if I do it at a gunpoint? Good business, Ivan. That's great business. I don't know. you like being recommended channels, but you should check out Predictive History for current stuff and past things. There is a professor and he's really informative. Danish, I'm gonna look this up, man. I'm gonna look this predictive history. Here, I'll take a screenshot of this. Holy shit, how do you take screenshots in this file? How do you take a screenshot of this? What the fuck? What the fuck? I don't know how to take a screenshot of this. What the fuck? What is this? iPhone 8, 10. This is a 10. You boys don't know how to take a screenshot? Wow. Ivan and I myself have gotten to the level of strength where we can outlift, I'd say 95% of people, even if they quote a squat, with so much strength we've accumulated. The people are in Japan, that people would rather get mad at tourists in this country rather than the government because their lives have become shit. I aspire to reach your level. Time is my only ally. You humbled me, brother, and I wish nothing but success in your training. Beautiful. Capitalism, baby. Hey, Ivan, love the content. Have you ever considered going on a cut? Could make for an awesome transformation video. I know that really isn't your thing. Either way, keep crushing it. Thank you, Andreas. Maybe one day, man. I'm not really that excited about the aesthetic side of things. I don't want to starve. I don't want to starve. I just want to continue doing what I love and learn, experiment. And I feel like if I go on a cut, everything will go on a pause, and it would just be this vanity thing that I'm not really all that excited about. Even if you don't do business, you're exchanging your time for money, which can be printed out of thin air by central banks. Yeah, that's true. Japanese people are amazing, very respectful, honoured and kind. I love seeing them stand up, ignorant foreigners. All right, I think one more set here and then we'll start squatting. I literally could sit here all night and do this machine. I freaking love this machine. What a beautiful use of money to buy this. Legendary. Makes you walk funny though. Makes you walk all funky. Oh man. How many chakras here? Bloody beautiful, look at that. Beautiful shot. Move this guy about there. I'm going to take this over here. Leave my drink bottle here. You must drink water. Very good water. Drinking water is very good for you. You guys see me? Alright. That's a bit of squatting, eh? Make sure I don't forget how to squat. Oh, yeah. Deki says, how do you regulate training intensity when sick? I'm a teacher, so I get sick a lot during winter. Oh, I joined the club, Deki. I go to training with the intention of going light, but always end up pushing too heavy hard. I know that problem very well, man. It is something that you learn to go, like, so basically I'll tell you what I do. When I'm sick, when I'm around sickness, I stay away from volume. So singles is basically what I do. On the big movements that are really costly. Things like the leg abduction machine, that's so light, you know, so I can do reps there, but nothing is to exert myself. So that's kind of the easiest thing for me, because for me reps are much more costly than intensity, as in like weight. So that's basically it. It's the metabolic stress that really is difficult when you're sick. The metabolic stress meaning like heart rate, respirate, all that stuff. Don't tax that system out and you should be okay. Ivan, out of all the lifts, different stabilizers, muscle groups like QLs, hip flexors, rotator cuff, if you have to pick one which made the biggest impact for your squatting, probably hip flexors. You didn't mention it, but probably lateral hip and hip flexors. I think that's kind of related weirdly. The lateral hip, not the middle, the lateral hip and hip flexors, that whole relationship, TFL, psoas, rectus femoris, medius and minimus of the gluteus, like all those structures there which essentially help you internally rotate your femur. All those things somehow, when I did beat around the bush for a little while, but if I do some sort of hip internal rotation work, whether it be hip flexion work, so hip flexors, or abduction work, once again it hits the hip flexors in a weird way, tends to make my hips feel better. And if I stray too far away from it, I end up being hurt. So things like unilateral leg work helps me a lot. Things like deadlifts also help me a lot because that's also very heavy on the hip flexors. Yeah, so things like that I'd say, man, for sure. Alrighty. Also, Ivan, have you ever considered the big squat routine for the bench press now, since volume is your big thing? Wow, Greg, dude. I have never thought about that, ever. That has never crossed my mind, weirdly enough. Never. So what does that mean? 100 for 12 reps, 110 for 11, 120 for 10 reps, doable. 130 for 9. 130 for 9 is not doable for me. 140 for 8. No, I'd say that's probably where I'd stop. 140 for 8. Nah, no way. No way, Jose. 130 for 9 for 8. 130 for 9. 120 for 8. No. 120 for 10. 120 for 10. 110 for 11. Yeah, somewhere around that stop, I think. That is a very good suggestion, Greg. I haven't even thought about it. Jacob says, Ivan, just wanted some advice. How do you train while on holiday? Currently on one half only being able to go to the gym twice this week. Jacob, I am a massive believer of high repetition stuff. So I think if you've got your own body and you have some gravity, that is all you need. Push-ups, goated. Bodyweight squats, goated. It is so freaking so tough to do bodyweight squats, man. It is like incredible. So if you just do those two things, man, you've covered everything you need for the 1 or 2 weeks on holidays. Literally. Every morning when you get up and you have to do a set of squats. To failure. Go nuts. 50, 60, 70, whatever, 100, whatever you can do. And 1 or 2 sets of push-ups, plenty. If you've got some time before sleep, you can do that as well, but most times on holidays, you got a couple of babies in you, you're not up for that, but like in the morning, I feel like it's a great time to do it. Krypton, I don't even train during my vacations, bro. Perhaps I should. Oh, it's whatever. You don't have to train every day, boys. Like it's, if it's not your thing, it's fine to take time off. No stress at all. What if you scale it back to compensate the bench press being a weaker lift than the squat? Well, if you were to change the big squat routine to a little bit kind of less challenging, the thing is, the bench press lends itself well to high repetition. I'm much better with 60 kilos on the bench press than I am with freaking the squat, which is weird. Which is really weird. Bench press is unique. You bench press 200 kilos. Oh man, that would be sick. Imagine doing that. You boys have really sparked something online. Imagine doing big squat routine. It would be tough. The 130 for 9 would be very tough. The 120 for 10, I reckon I could get that. 130 for 9 is a lot. Maybe like 100 for 10, 110 for 9, 120 for 7, 130 for 5, 140 for 3, 150 for 1. Yeah, I like the sound of that. Yeah. It'll be interesting. Definitely interesting. Interesting idea. Definitely making me think about it. So good. Thanks for the lifting advice. 3 a.m. here, I'm gonna kick it. I'll see you all when I see you all. Cheers, fellas. See you, Ram. Have a good one, brother. Thanks for hanging out with us, man. Squat is definitely refreshing to see the ranges the human body is designed for. Let me change it up a little bit so you see the depth a little bit better, I suppose. I know, Greg, you're a fan of it. I'm a fan of it. We're all fans of squatting. Like the side profile is probably the best to see. The hamstrings hit the calves, and it's how it's supposed to be. Oh, naughty, 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 naughty. All right, 180. That felt pretty good. But because I'm pretty fatigued with the adduction machine, felt my glutes give out a little bit, which is interesting. finish off the session with some adductor work. Open everything up, release all that good stuff. Oh. 45, baby. 45. Oh, feel that lower back give. God, that is a beautiful sensation. I feel this in my lower back. Say what you know. Anthony, that's awesome to hear, dude. How are you, man? With a high amount of rum is a recipe for a real, pure, strong human being, especially if you really raw meat when it look like nothing. Thank you, Greg. Appreciate that, brother. Bro, I don't know if that mic is working. Oh shit. Why do I always have technical difficulties? Is it working now? Dan? Why ain't it working? In your square everyday journey so far, are there any other workout routines still in your mind that you found as the hardest, either high reps or highest weight, heaviest weight? Georgia, the small of mesocycle, the template, I found quite interesting. 4 different days, increasing weight, decreasing reps. That was brutal. But I always found like when I got strapped into a program like that, I always ended up hurt because it doesn't leave a lot of space for rehab work. And with such a high demand, so much effort, I always found like it would usually grind me down to a halt. So the style of training that I always liked is, adaptive training. Training that allows me to adapt to what my body's feeding back to me. So if I'm feeling crappy, I don't just do the workout and hit some arbitrary numbers because the program said it. It's because I feel good and I'm ready to attack. And so my training is very much adaptive. I don't ignore symptoms. And I think that's why I've been relatively okay without major injuries for such a long time. High reps always felt good because when I do high reps, regardless of what the movement is, it's also like rehabbing as well because of the increased blood flow and so I've always had success with high reps, even bodyweight squats, like no weight at all, unbelievable, feel amazing. It's the high weight for high repetitions. That funny. I was talking to somebody online about this. He messaged me and like summarized it really well. He was like, my body does well with heavy singles and my body does really well with 20 plus reps. It's that in-between stuff that gets really murky, like semi-heavy weight for a bunch of reps, like sets of 5 to 15, sets of 5 to 10, basically sets of 3 to 10. It's just weird. It's heavy ass weight for multiple repetitions where everything can go wrong. With 1 rep maxes, it makes sense. It's 1 rep and there's not enough repetition to get you hurt. When you're doing this in-between shit, I feel like that's where the trouble is. It's the in-between stuff. Like 3 reps to 8, 10 is weird. So I could do 180 for a set of 8 right now and completely screw myself over. But if I do a set of 30, oh shit, now I'm down to like 80 kilos, 60 kilos, 100 kilos, and that weight is manageable. It's not gonna hurt me any way I do it, I'll be all right. So it's the loading, it's the ego, It's the hunger for improvement that usually screws us over in some shape or form, which is weird. It's weird to process all that. Oh, weights coming off the bar, conducting head. Oh my God. Yeah, that would be rough, Anthony. I just wanted to ride the whole thing out. Was curious myself. 20 for 20, 30 for 18, 50, 30 for 18, and 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 7, 5, 2, 1. Oh yeah, right, okay. I see what you mean, Greg. That's very much doable. Very much doable. Patrick, I don't know what's going on. So like last night I downloaded that Road. Is it called Road? Whatever this company is. App. And I set it to like, it was on low. I set it to medium. So maybe tomorrow I'll set it up to freaking high. What's it called? High volume. It's not volume. High. They use a term. That is so good. That is terribly good. And that, I just feel that in my lower back. That is so good, man. I just found my old messages from 2021 on this old phone, and yeah, one of the last messages was a message from a missus. She was in hospital while I was at work. Me and my grandma. My grandma was not very well at all. Ah, boys. Thank you, George. I appreciate it, man. Always appreciate it. I'll catch you in the next one, eh? You have a good one, dude. Oh, 2 sets. Oh. Thank you, Greg. God bless, man. You have a good day, man. Appreciate you always for chilling out with me, and I'm sure we'll see each other again. Peace out, man. Patrick. Well, I value I value those exercises a lot. All that stuff that is not your typical stuff. I feel like there's value in there. You just have to give it a bit of a blast of a couple of weeks, hit them hard and see what the response is from the body, and then you'll know whether they're worthy or not. But you have to kind of give them a shot. You can't make conclusions on, one day of doing them, you know what I mean? I'm having trouble with these now. Maybe this way I need to do. Put them down this way. Maybe that's. things. Right, boys, I gotta run. This has been a pretty good long video, long stream, but a good one, I'd say. I'm gonna head out, signing out. Hopefully I'll catch you guys tomorrow. Not in 24 hours, probably a little earlier. I've got things coming up in the PM tomorrow, so it'll be 24 hours now. So if I go 5 hours back, 6 hours back, something like from 18 hours from now, I'll be back up. All right. Appreciate you guys, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace out, fellas. Bye-bye.